Hey everyone, it's Chef Jeremy. Happy almost Valentine's Day. I'm so excited to get you hooked up with these chocolate covered strawberries that are sure to make your day extra special. And so what we got going on for these berries, you'll need 3 things out of your kit. First thing you'll want to grab is that bag of chocolate. We got some really special bittersweet chocolate. It has a ton of flavor and it is my favorite thing to pair with the berries. The sweet and the little bit of bitterness is a great combo. You also want to grab your pint of strawberries. These are super delicious. And a little bit of that truffle honey. We're gonna drizzle some truffle honey on top, make it extra special today. The tools you'll want to have to do this, you want to have 1 sheet tray lined with a little bit of parchment paper, just so those berries don't stick to the sheet tray. You want to have a rubber spatula, something to stir up that chocolate as we're melting it down. And you want to have a bowl over a pot of water. And so I got my pot of water here. I just want to make sure that when I put my bowl on, it doesn't touch the water. You just want to lightly heat that chocolate with the steam. And so with that, we can get started on these berries. And so I'm going to go ahead, take all of my chocolate and add it right to my bowl. And just get this on to a medium heat. I want to start getting that water underneath to come up to a simmer so that we can gently melt our chocolate. And as you're melting this, you'll want to stir it around, just making sure it doesn't burn. I always melt chocolate over a double boiler just to ensure it's gently heating. If we did it directly on the heat, the chocolate could burn, it would clump up, and it wouldn't be beautiful on these berries. So by heating over the bain-marie or double boiler, it really allows you to have a perfect chocolate melt. And so as this chocolate is melting, you want to make sure you're constantly stirring it so that that heat is getting evenly distributed throughout all the little chips we got going on. And then if it ever gets to a point where there's steam sputtering out the sides of your pan, you want to go ahead and turn down the heat. That steam can burn you, but it can also get into the chocolate. And water is one of the biggest enemies of chocolate. The water, if it gets into your chocolate, it'll keep it from setting up and your berries won't be quite as attractive once they're cooling down. So if you do see that steam coming, just turn down the heat, let it cool down, and keep it going. So I got some steam coming up over here. I'm going to turn down my heat on that water. I just need that light simmer. I don't need a full boil. And I'll go ahead and just keep stirring with that steam down a little bit. And so once all of those little chocolatey bits are melted, there's no lumps in your chocolate, and it has a nice drizzle to it, you can go ahead and turn off the water and remove it from the heat. And I like to set it right on a towel so that any of that water condensation on the bottom can start to get soaked up so that it doesn't go into the chocolate. And then from here, we can go ahead and start dipping our berries. And as you're dipping your berries, if your chocolate ever starts to solidify, you can always put it back on that burner to rewarm it. But it should stay pretty liquidy throughout the cooking process unless you've got a really, really cool room. And so I'm going to bring over my sheet tray now. And I'm going to start dipping these berries. And with my berries, I don't wash my berries because most of the time they come pretty clean from the store. And if you wash the berries, the water on it will repel the chocolate and it can be a real big mess. And so I'm not washing my berries, but if I see any little specks on them or see any dirt on them, I'll just take a little towel and wipe off all those little specks of dirt, making sure it's nice and clean for the dipping. But no need to clean these with water. The water will really ruin the dipping process. So I'm going to take my berry, lifting it by the stem, and I like to just dip it into that chocolate and roll it around to coat the whole berry. And then I'll drag the bottom edge and let that little bottom part drip off and set it right on my sheet tray. And I like to drag the edge so that I remove a little bit of excess chocolate, and then when I set it here, there's not going to be a huge foot on that berry. And so you can just continue this dipping process, dipping, and you like to spin it around just a little bit as you dip to make sure you get all over the top of the berry. And then again, scrape the bottom on the edge of the bowl and set it on your tray. And it might roll a little on the tray, and that's totally fine. And so I'll go in, do another one, and I'll do this with the whole pint. And as you're doing this, if you notice it's getting really shallow in your bowl, or there's not enough chocolate to give you a nice pool to dip into, you can always transfer this to another bowl that's a little bit taller. So a bowl that's a little bit taller will give you a little bit more volume in the bottom of the bowl. So a small tall bowl, you could use a glass to do it as well, and it'll dip really well in there. My bowl right now over here has a pretty good level of chocolate, and it's pretty easy to dip in. And so again, just pull up that stem, hold it by the stem, and I tilt my bowl to get a deeper puddle, and then I dip and roll. Scrape off that excess, set it right on my tray. And as you do this, my berries just came out of the fridge, so I can already see on my first berry that chocolate's starting to set. It's going from shiny to a little bit matte over here. And so that is perfect. That's what we're looking for. This chocolate, we didn't temper this chocolate, and usually that's not okay with chocolate. It'll come out and it won't be as good. But since the chocolate dip berries stay in the fridge as we're holding them, as we're finishing them up, you don't have to temper the chocolate, and you still get that nice snap and shine with your chocolate. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and keep on dipping away till I've dipped all my berries. And so I'm going in with my last berry over here. I'm just gonna dip this last berry, and you'll notice my bowl got a little more shallow with that chocolate because I've used so much, but you can still kind of get those edges in. And again, you can always switch containers to something that's a little less wide. And you'll notice I've dipped all my berries, but there's still a ton of chocolate left in your bowl, and that's because when you're dipping berries, you need an extra level of chocolate. If we gave you just enough to cover all the berries, it'd be a pain to coat it. You'd be trying to like paint on the chocolate, and they would not look beautiful. So when I was mass producing berries for a while at one of my jobs, we would just always have vats of chocolate. Anytime they got to that half level, we'd refill them up, keep dipping just to keep it efficient. And so with this extra chocolate, you can do whatever you would like. I would transfer it to a smaller container, and you can just let it set at room temperature or in the fridge, and it'll pop out of that container. And then you can use it for whatever you like, brownies, lava cake, anything that you do just chocolate for. If you layer this on a sheet tray lined with parchment, spread it out really thin, it's super easy to chop up, and you can throw it into cookies as well. It works wonderfully that way. And so I'm gonna go ahead, take these berries and just pop them in my fridge, let that chocolate completely set, and then we're gonna drizzle them with a little bit of truffle honey over here. And so with that extra chocolate, my favorite way to save it is just to dump it right on to a sheet tray that's lined with parchment paper, and then I'll spread it into a thin layer. And this will all set up, and once it sets up, you can chop it up into little bits, melt it down again, use it in a different dish, So I just grabbed my berries from the fridge. They were just in there for about 5 minutes to set. You know they're ready to go when you can tap on them and that chocolate doesn't leave on your finger. And they also have a nice matte finish. They go from a shiny to a matte finish. I absolutely love to drizzle these berries with just a little bit of truffle honey. So I got my truffle honey over here. I'm just gonna go in with a spoon and get a nice drizzle going on these berries. And so once you get all that honey drizzled, your berries are ready to go. You can keep them in the fridge. They'll stay fresh in the fridge for a few days. After a few days, the berries kind of start to wilt. So you want to eat those pretty quickly, but it won't be hard with you and your partner having a great little Valentine's Day treat. So enjoy this. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day and enjoy your dinner tomorrow. Bye everyone.